Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brendan Plays. This is Total Extreme Wrestling, and we are moving on from our last pay-per-view, which of course was The House That Always Wins. 81 rated show, 2,500 fans in attendance, 246,000 buys altogether. Overall, a really outstanding show. Hit and ticked all the boxes for us. And it was a great way to really get us going to the next direction, the next point, the big stopping point, which of course will be Double or Nothing. So obviously on this episode today, we're going to start building towards Double or Nothing. We do have a card planned in mind. And that, of course, we've got Blood and Guts that will take place, the Pinnacle versus the Hardy, Sting and Moxley, Jericho versus Cody, Young Bucks versus... I think it's probably going to be Young Bucks versus the Good Brothers at this stage. Shaq will team up with Kenny Omega to take on Paul White and Adam Page. Hikaru Shida versus Britt Baker. Christian Cage needs an opponent. And, of course, we've got the TNT title match. I've had a few ideas of where we want to go with that, of course. In terms of our storylines, we've still got Ethan Page, Will Hobbs. There's still probably a little bit there to work with. Christian, as I said, we need to find him an opponent, and we will. We'll kind of dive into that later in the episode. Lucha Bros and Jurassic Express, that's pretty much going to wrap up, but we might do one more rematch on Dynamite just because, it's a really solid match. It's a great way to get both teams spotlighted in a big way. But other than that, Nyla Rose, Jade Cargill, that might feature on Double or Nothing as well. And the Dark Order storyline, now that Eric Redbeard has been defeated and kind of buried on TV, I think he's pretty much finished, and we might go ahead and end that storyline. And Eric Redbeard, we could use him a little bit more and have him put over a couple more guys on the way out. That probably would be the best move. Since coming to us, he started at 47 pop, now he's down to 46, 45. I think if we drop him down a little bit more and have, maybe like a Will Hobbs beat him, for example, that would be beneficial. So we might as well do that before we get rid of him. But yeah, so some other little tidbits as well. Riddick Moss, he's available, we don't want him. Shane McMahon has officially retired, so he's not going to wrestle anymore. In terms of his matches, he hasn't had any matches in this save anyways, so he's finished. Awesome Kong, she's going to be leaving us in 2 months, so that's a pretty big one. We're going to lose Awesome Kong very, very soon, and she's now obviously transitioned into kind of being the bodyguard for Britt Baker and the heater there, and it's kind of really been working. I feel it's helped elevate Britt Baker a little bit more as a character, but now she's going to go off and probably film, I guess you could say, she's going to go do another season of Glow, for example. So we're going to lose her, and that's going to be really difficult for us. And of course, MJF, he's injured, but I think it's just a minor injury. We do have a few minor injuries. You can see MJF, 2 weeks he won't be able to wrestle. Statlander, Eddie Kingston, and Big Swole all have minor injuries as well. Darby Allin, of course, with the serious one. He's still got 5 months to go, which is a real shame. And the other, of course, big news is Samoa Joe. So, of course, we were not going to let Samoa Joe sit on the market for long. We had to snap him up, and we have, and he has officially joined our company. So, he is in. My plan for Samoa Joe at the moment, my initial idea, of course, I'm going to bring him as a babyface because we're lacking babyfaces in the upper to low tier main event status. So he'll slot into that role there. And I'm thinking with Park, he's currently the TNT champion. What I might do with Park is have a series of open challenges. Park wants competition. He wants to defend the championship, wants to prove that he's the best, blah, blah, blah. And he kind of runs through the roster a little bit, and eventually he bites off a little bit more than he can chew with Samoa Joe as a surprise opponent. Maybe at Double or Nothing. But that's a fair way away. Do we want to hold off until then? Or maybe, Park has an open challenge on an episode of Dynamite. Samoa Joe accepts, but Park, instead of accepting the challenge, he runs away from Samoa Joe, and we kind of build towards a match at Double or Nothing rather than be a surprise. So we could do it that way. So 2 different options there, but nonetheless, that's kind of where I'm thinking. Maybe Samoa Joe will take the belt from Park and have Samoa Joe come in hot as a champion and run with that for a while until we're ready to kind of elevate him up the card in some sort of way. But that's kind of what we're thinking early at the moment with Samoa Joe. Obviously, plans could change, but that's perhaps what I'm thinking for the TNT Championship at the moment. But nonetheless, we do have this episode of AEW Dark booked, so we might as well get going with it and start it off. So let's jump into the pre-show where Sean Spears picked up a win over Griff Garrison. Spears 38, Garrison 27, 8-minute match. Of course, Spears picked up a win just to try and hopefully build his momentum. TNT took on the Best Friends for 43. This might be the TNT's best match. They had 21 and 23, whereas Best Friends 52 and 51. So Best Friends, definitely one of our best tag teams, but unfortunately have kind of, I suppose, fallen out of the mix a little bit. I think Jurassic Express jumped above Best Friends, and they've kind of been left behind a little bit. So they can still definitely perform at a pretty solid level, so we shouldn't forget about them for too long. We gave Bear Boulder and Bear Bronson a promo, of course, Bear Country, 20 rated there. No surprise if it was a pretty, crappy promo, but I wanted to give them, some promo time. One, to see how they'd go, but also to try and develop those skills. We had a 6-woman tag, 37 rated. Red Velvet, Brandy, and Diamante picking up the win over B. Priestley, Ivelisse, and Mel. Just a throwaway tag to get some women on the card. Obviously, Ivelisse is on her way out. B. Priestley probably should be on her way out too. So, a chance to get Velvet and Diamante some potential popularity gains there. Colton Gunn and Austin Gunn with the backstage promo, 27 from them, not bad. Okay, when we kicked off the opening show, the opening segment of the main show was Park, who said he'll be gifting opportunities for the next few weeks to step up and prove yourself. This week, the first opponent will be Will Hobbs. So we talked about it a moment ago, the whole Park Open Challenge situation. Really do it as a way to try and elevate the talent. We did a similar thing with Cody Rhodes originally as well. And hopefully Park can start doing some of the same sort of stuff here, just as a heel role instead. 55 rated for this one. And Bear Country took on SCU, so they get a bit of an opportunity here, Bear Country, to get a promo, then a match. SCU 50 and 54, which is actually really good. I'm actually quite impressed. Frankie Kazarian even performing really well. He hasn't had the best performances so far, but 44 rated match, solid from SCU, still once again proving that they're a valuable team in the mid-card. Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero explain their actions at the House That Always Wins. Of course, Nyla Rose got herself involved and cost Jade Cargill the match, and that's a 45 rated segment there to kind of kick off the Nyla and Jade storyline. Good start. We had the Hunks take on Proud and Powerful for 50. Santana and Ortiz almost touching 60 there. Really, really good. Cesar 29 and Ryan Nemeth 29 as well. Not so great, but look, a good opportunity for them to be a serious, solid match against a good team to potentially elevate the Hunks. Hopefully that will help their popularity a little bit. Team Taz says that they are on the hunt for some new potential recruits. So we're going to look for maybe a storyline where Team Taz are going to try and recruit someone, and maybe, a bit similar to like the Christian one in real life, and maybe, they get rejected and we kind of enter in a storyline that way. 56. Jake Hager gets a promo. Well, it's more of a training video hyping him up for 62. I kind of realized that we haven't done a lot with Jake Hager at all, but here's a little segment for him to try and just elevate him a touch. Speaking of Hager, he had a match to follow it up. He took on Peter Avalon, so Jake Hager beat him in about 6 minutes. Hager 62, Avalon 37, so this is a much better performance from Hager. We haven't seen many great efforts from Hager. He's been pretty underwhelming, despite the fact he's got a lot of popularity thanks to Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle really bumping him up. He hasn't got a lot to go with it. But this is good. And look, if Jake Hager can, perform around the low 60s, maybe mid 60s, I think he's got a bit of value. Maybe a feud with maybe someone like Miro would be a good idea, because we kind of forget about Hager a lot, but he's got 60 popularity or thereabouts. So he's really nearly a main event guy, at least a really solid upper mid-carder that we don't really use. So I think we might need to start trying to get him in some sort of storyline, rather just be Jericho's, guy. John Silver had a promo where he taunted Eric Redbeard. Silver hinted at a face turn, but got a little reaction because he's not very good at playing that role. Well, we might have to tweak that a little bit, because we've decided we're just going to turn the entire Dark Order. Dark Order at the moment as heels, they're not going to really go far at all. Whereas a babyface group, we do have room for a lower tier faction that's a babyface. We haven't really got one, so Dark Order would kind of fit that role, and obviously there'd be a potential for a lot of matchups for the Dark Order to get themselves involved in. Whereas as a heel group, we've got so many heels. We've even got we've got a lot of heel teams that are really crap. So Dark Order they're a little bit too good to be treated like that, but we're not really interested in pushing them that hard either, so they're in that really tricky zone. Whereas if we turn them babyface, they can start to wrestle and start to work with a lot of those really low-end teams, and then start to build themselves and elevate into that next crop. Speaking of Dark Order, well, they had a 4-on-1 tag, a handicap match over Eric Redbeard, and they took him down. So 10-minute match. Redbeard fought him off, so I probably jumped the gun and ended that storyline. I kind of forgot that I booked this match. But in the end, Redbeard 41, Grayson 43, Uno 44. Silver was good though, 38. That's probably his best performance I've seen at least as a solo, sort of a tag team, I suppose. But that's good. 42 overall for the match. Hopefully that helps the Dark Order's popularity. Britt Baker and Awesome Kong taunted Hikaru Shida to start off that storyline. 49, really good actually. That's really solid for our women's segment, which hence, obviously why Britt Baker's got the belt. And our main event was Park versus Will Hobbs. Have a look at Park's performance. 77, oh my goodness. That is what we're talking about. He carried Will Hobbs to a 63 rated match. In the end, Ethan Page distracted Will Hobbs and cost him the match. Park retains the championship. Post-match, well, Ethan Page, he started beating down Will Hobbs, and Park, look, he doesn't mind. He's happy to help out and kick Will Hobbs while he's down for 50 rated. So, nice main event to close out the show. And overall, pretty good, 51. We did use Will Hobbs far too much on the show, so that probably hurt us a little bit, but we're trying to push Will. So, big promo, then the big main event match. I think it'll help. Fingers crossed. Let's jump into the results for this week's Dynamite. On the pre-show, wanted to see how Wardlow's traveling in ring. 54 rated performance from him. Isaiah Cassidy was his opponent. 45 from Isaiah. Wardlow seemed off his game, so he could do maybe even better than that. Maybe 57, maybe 58, which would be great. Short but sweet match for Wardlow. 54 rated in the end. Chaos Project took on Reynolds and Silver for 36. Reynolds and Silver, obviously, they do need a bit of a tweak with their face adjustment, but Silver 42, Reynolds 32. That is quite promising from John Silver. There is a chance that he might actually get over here. Redbeard's kind of helped him in that way, so not too bad. Trying to build up the Dark Order a little bit, give them some wins, trying to get their momentum turning around. Best Friends cut a promo for 55, hyping themselves up. That is actually really good. Very good stuff. The Gun Club took on FTW Team Taz for 57. Wow. Brian Cage, 67. Ricky Starks, really good, 48. Billy, 47. And Austin Gunn, 27. Of course, FTW picked up the win. So that match was actually pretty decent. Brian Cage probably carried a bit, but Ricky Starks was really good. Probably good enough, I would say, to actually be a force in the tag division now, if we want to use Team Taz in that way. Really good. Okay, we opened up the show with MJF and the Pinnacle. MJF celebrated his big win and said that a new era has begun and nobody can stop the Pinnacle. Obviously, the Hardys, they got beat down at the House That Always Wins, so they're hurt. Moxley lost, so he might be finished for a little bit. Sting, we haven't seen him since Revolution. So MJF believes he's in the clear. No one's going to be able to stop him. Only 72 for this one. I did rate Moxley on overness. Maybe we should have just had MJF do his thing. Don't rate Moxley on anything. But, you live and you learn. 72 brings the storyline heat down a little bit. So we really need to try and turn that around in the next few weeks. Alright, we did a rematch of the House That Always Wins, Jurassic Express and the Lucha Brothers, and I'm pretty glad we did. My goodness, 76 rated match. Ray Phoenix, 76, kind of carried things in a way. Where the Lucha Brothers pick up the win again. Lucha Brothers just a step ahead of the Jurassic Express at the moment, but wanted just to get them out here and do another great match, and they certainly did. We had this as the steal the show match of the show. And Jungle Boy 64, Luchasaurus was 61 as well. That's pretty impressive. And Penta 61. Everyone doing their part. Everyone having a good performance. And a really, really excellent match. Great way to kick off Dynamite, the first match of the show. And look, it's a short but sweet feud. But hopefully this match kind of elevates both teams. I think they deserve it. Alright, Tony Schiavone hosted a confrontation between Hikaru Shida and Britt Baker. So they kind of went back and forth on the mic there as they kind of started to begin to build towards their big match at Double or Nothing. So obviously these two have had matches in the past, they've feuded in the past, and we kind of went there. Now we're circling back there again. Kind of out of necessity rather than, a want or a need to. Because we just don't have any other opponents really built up for Britt Baker at the moment, as bad as that sounds. So I guess if that's the problem, we should probably have another women's feud, pick out the next two contenders. I know we've gone with Thunder Rose in the past. Maybe we try and pick out a couple of different ones. Diamante's having some success. Try and maybe Brandy Rhodes, as bad as it may sound. Brandy and Britt Baker would be a good story heat because they would have some good promos, but good angles. But I don't know the match. Once the bell rings, it might be terrible. But that could be an option. But we might have to try and start building up the next 2 or 3 baby faces, unless we're going to give the belt back to Shida, which might not be a bad idea. 49 for that segment, anyways. The Good Brothers took on SCU and picked up the win for 55. Anderson 57, Gallows 52. That's more like it from these two. That's much better than what they've been doing lately. Of course, we saw Daniels and Kazarian on Dark. They were good there. They were good here again. 55 match. As we try and start to get the Good Brothers gaining momentum and potentially taking on the Tag Team Champions. Of course, that next segment sets that up. Don Callis and Kenny Omega, they come out and they feeling pretty confident, pretty cocky. And Anderson and Gallows are hyped up here by Omega and Callis, and they say that they deserve the next title shot. So with the Elite, I didn't actually like the fact that they added Michael Nakazawa and Brandon Cutler, like some goons, some really lackey type of guys into their group a little bit. I kind of like that, so I'm thinking maybe we might do something similar. But we'll have to think about who's a good option. I can't remember if Cutler and Avalon are faces or heels. I feel like they're faces, so that won't work. Michael Nakazawa is a babyface, and I really don't want to do anything with him, but he could be an option if we wanted to add a lackey to the group. But I did like that idea. So anyway, 72 for that segment. Park took on Brian Pillman Jr. in a defense of the TNT Championship. So we said earlier, obviously, Park defending more often. Park again, 77. So he's starting to get there. This is what we thought he had the potential to do, but we just, for whatever reason, hadn't been seeing it. Now it's starting to come together for him. Brian Pillman Jr. gave him this match to try and elevate him a little bit. Plus, not a lot of opponents really for Park to kind of go with, unless you kind of want him to run through the next crop of potential genuine contenders like Matt Sydal, Colt Cabana, those sort of guys. So looking further down the card, Pillman Jr. was kind of in a similar position as a Will Hobbs, as someone we want to elevate, but a bit difficult to do it. This is a match where we can try at least do that. Of course, Park picked up the win. Christian Cage talks himself up and says that he is better than ever after his pay-per-view win over Colt Cabana. So Christian being cocky, being confident, why not? Picked up a win at the pay-per-view, still feeling like he's on a roll and ready for the next step. 72 promos, so that's one of Christian's probably best promos since coming back, perhaps. So that's good signs for Christian. Now, it was a shorter promo, so maybe that was the key. Rather than going 5 minutes, keep it short, maybe 3-4 minutes. Might be something to think about in the future. Another Rose defeated Ivelisse in a 37 rated match. No chemistry between these two. Rose 43, Ivelisse 32. That 7-minute match, quick and easy win for Nyla to try and build her up. Obviously, Ivelisse definitely on her way out, kind of using her as a stepping stone. Post-match, Nyla and Vicky say that Nyla is the biggest and baddest woman in AEW, not Jade Cargill. So that's kind of where we're going with that storyline. Who's the biggest? Who's the baddest? That sort of thing. 47 rated, gaining storyline heat for that one as well. So good stuff. Had a sit-down interview with Cody Rhodes, hosted by Jim Ross. And Cody Rhodes says he's looking forward to the future. He's looking to put Kenny Omega in that situation behind him, move on from that. Unfortunately, they weren't successful. They lost that match. Now it's time for Cody to take the next step. Adam Page can keep on going with Kenny Omega. He's got Paul White, so Cody Rhodes feels as though that's all good. Now Cody is ready to focus on himself, focus on his own career and his ambitions, and that is becoming a world champion for the very first time. But he understands that he needs approval first, and he's going to talk to Tony Khan about it and come up with a solution of how he can be able to challenge for a title again, when he said that he could never do it and the stipulation is not allowing him to do so. 83 rated for this one, which is very good. So obviously we're building towards Cody Rhodes and Chris Jericho. The way that Cody's going to be allowed to get approval is if he can beat the man that who beat him originally for that stipulation, which of course is Chris Jericho. So looking forward to that one. That will be obviously a great match and probably a semi-main event sort of match on the card. We had a bit of a bludger of a match. Eric Redbeard and Powerhouse Will Hobbs for 23. I'm not sure why this match was so bad, but Redbeard 41, Powerhouse Will Hobbs 44. We had this as a bit of a squash match. Will Hobbs kind of beat Redbeard, but it was not good. It was downright terrible. 23. We had a hype video to promote Shaquille O'Neal. The fact that he will be showing up next week on Dynamite. Was going to put him on this one, but I kind of thought that the Pinnacle having that big opening segment was kind of my way of, keeping the show more about them and their big success and the changing of the guard sort of thing. So I want maybe next week to be Kenny Omega, his big reveal, how he managed to get Shaquille O'Neal to help him, blah, blah, blah. So we'll save the promo time for next week for that. And the main event, 63 rated, Kenny 84, Matt Sydal 50. Maybe the fact that we had that bad match, Will Hobbs and Redbeard before it, brought the crowd down that much to the point where there was no coming back. This match, 63, there's no storyline, so maybe that's a factor, but you could argue this could be more of a 68, maybe 70. So, yeah, a little disappointing. But, Kenny Omega picked up a win over Matt Sydal. Wanted to give Kenny Omega a big, solid win coming off the pay-per-view. Was hoping this would be a solid main event as well to just keep that going. Nonetheless, post-match, Adam Page confronted Kenny Omega in the ring. No contact, Callis held back Anderson Gallows. Kenny, didn't want to fight. But Adam Page said he's not done with Kenny just yet. So that kind of indicates that we're still going to go with Kenny and Adam Page feuding. Obviously, Shaquille O'Neal involved. And, of course, setting up for that tag team match. 72. So didn't quite hit the mark with that segment either. It gives us a 67 overall. So not bad, but we kind of, we didn't quite execute so well in the later end of the show. We had that really great, Lucha Bros and Jurassic Express match. The TNT title match was okay. The main event was not really great, so kind of let ourselves down a little bit towards the end of the card. But 67 overall, that's average. It's a pass mark, I suppose. Alright, the results. NXT 74 rated. They had 738,000 viewers. Pete Dunne, Jordan Devlin in the main event for 82. Wow. That is interesting. Our show, we had 800,000 viewers, 1.06 TV rating. That's pretty good. Pretty good. So 920 people in attendance, 67 show rating. Not bad. I'm happy with that. So Ivelisse is officially gone, so that was her final match on Dynamite. We kind of jobbed her out pretty considerably, considering that she had about 30 popularity. We brought her back down to 25 with her last few losses, so we made the most of that. And that's pretty much it with that. So let's have a quick look at the popularity changes. So we'll start off with Kenny Omega. Looks like he's jumped up to 73 now after a couple of big efforts at the pay-per-view and, of course, on this episode of Dynamite. So, Kenny's certainly establishing himself as a major top star, and he needs to. He's 38 years of age, so he's quite, he's probably in the tail end of his prime now. So he certainly needs to get himself there and enjoy, the next 2-3 years as the top star in AEW. Love to get the Young Bucks towards 70. If we can get them there, my God, they'll have some good matches. MJF, 68 popularity. So even though he's got this group behind him, he is gaining popularity, and he's definitely getting closer to 70. He's gaining a lot. He still has a fair bit to go before he's in that, upper tier area, which of course is, Moxley, Jericho, Cody, that sort of range. Park's at 62 now. I'd like to give it, some credit to Park this week. 2 matches this week with 77 performance, carrying Will Hobbs and Brian Pillman into the 60s. Really solid. So I'm starting to really see some good return out of Park. And my idea of giving him the TNT Championship is starting to pay off, thank goodness. Because for a while there, I was a little bit concerned. It certainly wasn't really paying off the way that I was hoping. But I think things are back on track. Ray Phoenix, 54 popularity now in the Southeast, so he's gained a point. So no surprise, he had an absolute, classic of a match, if you will. Considering where they are on the card, it was a really great match, a bit of a ripper of a match. So he's gone up popularity. Jungle Boy, 51 now, so I think he's gone up as well, which is really good signs. Luchasaurus, not too far behind, he's got 50. And 1 point behind, so he's gaining popularity as well. Gallows now has 50 himself. Anderson 51. So this is really good. We're starting to see some gains in the mid card. Penta now has 50. So that's the key. You really have a solid, strong match. It will help your popularity for both teams, regardless if you win or lose. Both teams are nearly the same popularity. So it didn't really matter too much who won or lost. But it's good signs, really good signs. So there's positive things happening in the mid-card, which, as we said, we desperately needed. Eric Redbeard, oh no. He's dropped from 45 to 37 popularity. Oh boy. I'd like to see what Will Hobbs has done in retaliation to that. Evil Uno, 37 popularity, so he's helped, Eric Redbeard's helped put him over and get him in a better position. Matt Sydal, 43, no game from him despite being in the main event. And that's okay. I guess, kind of expected that, even though he picked up a win. We mentioned earlier on about Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler. Well, Avalon is currently a babyface, so of course Cutler is too. So that won't really work out for the elites as some lackeys, but, nonetheless. And I'd like to see Will Hobbs. He's now got 36 popularity in the Southeast, so he gained 5 popularity points for beating Eric Redbeard. So I would say that was worth it. Redbeard, the thing about Redbeard, and to be fair, as long as he gets a job not working in the Southeast, if he goes and works in any other area, he'll still have plenty of success. He'll still do great. Just stay clear of the Southeast, But I think we won't want to ruin Eric Redbeard's career any further. We will call it a release for Eric. Job well done, sir. He came in, gave Dark Order some, something to do after the passing of Brody Lee, and now that's done and dusted, and we can move on with the Dark Order. And he even put over Will Hobbs quite well for us, so I'm pretty pleased with that. So thank goodness for that. Still very cold momentum from Sean Spears, despite the fact we've put him at the pinnacle, we've given him wins, we're trying our best, so still an uphill battle to climb with Sean Spears, and I guess that's the way it is with some people. John Silver, 24 in the Southeast now. I'm not sure what he was at before, about 20. So he's gained a bit after, beating Redbeard, which is good signs as well. Alex Reynolds still at 19. So a lot of these guys in the Dark Order still struggling with their popularity. They've still got a long way to go before they're going to be any sort of use to us on our roster, which is a shame, but it's just the way it is. Coming off the House That Always Wins, we were in the green. We were actually making money. Well, this time, that's not the case. Back in the red, 51,000 now in the red. But you can see 131,000 ticket sales already this month. So plenty of revenue coming in from that. Pay-per-view revenue is solid. So that's the positive thing. Our worker costs are going up. We're trying to manage them as much as we can. But ticket sales are probably the key to making money. If we had full crowds every week, I'm pretty sure at this point we would be making money. And with AEW potentially going on the road, I'm hearing July, there's a chance. Maybe we think about, or we aim for that as potentially as a way to start actually expanding into new areas. The thing about the problem we're going to have is that we've been in the Southeast so much and focusing on the Southeast so much, is that if we do go on the road, a lot of people are still going to be terrible. Will Hobbs, for example, 25 everywhere else other than the Southeast, so he's still got still a long way behind the mark. So, and that's quite true for many people. A lot of people have gained popularity, but mainly just in that one area. Ricky Starks, we saw him have a really solid match with Brian Cage. He's got 38 popularity now, so Ricky's very, very close to getting away from the lower card of Doom and working his way into the mid card, which would be fantastic for us. So I'm thinking some more interaction with Team Taz might be the way to go. We talked about a moment ago as well, the women's division, looking at potentially who is our next crop of top baby faces. So let's have a quick little look at our women and see who are our options, beyond Sheeta. Now, we've obviously done Statlander and Britt Baker, I believe. I think we did that last year, so let's have a quick look. So, more than likely, one of Statlander's best matches would have been with Britt Baker. So Britt Baker versus Statlander at Full Gear, 50 rated. So it was a good match, but we've done that rivalry, we've done that feud. Penelope Ford, she's got 28 popularity. She could be an option. She hasn't had the best in-ring performances, but she's on her way up the card now, where she's associated with Miro and of course Kip. Rio, we haven't done Rio yet with Britt Baker, so there is an option to do that. We haven't used Rio much at all in the series, so there is a possibility that we could go in that direction. We've only given her 3 matches in the series, so obviously we know she's a good wrestler and she's got popularity, so we could use that. Serena Deeb's another option, 24. Shanna, not really. Tay Conti, a little bit too far behind, but she would be a good option down the line. We can get her there. And of course, Thunder Rosa coming off, a feud recently with Britt Baker. So that probably wouldn't work out too well with Britt Baker and Thunder having a 51 rated match at the Revolution pay-per-view. So not too bad, but in terms of fresh matchups, Big Swole, 26, she's been pretty bad every time we've given her an opportunity. I would say you're looking at Rio or Penelope Ford. Of course, as we said, as much as it pains me to say, we could also be looking at Brandy Rose, 43 pop in the Southeast, which is pretty big considering she's well above all of the women in the roster. So it might, if we get desperate, we've got Brandy as an option as well. And of course, there are women on the market. There's a lot of rumors going around that in real life that we could be seeing Tessa Blanchard joining AEW or the WWE. So there's always that. Of course, Mickie James. In our game, she's retired, which is really annoying. We still haven't seen Zelina Vega, if she's going to end up anywhere. I think she is free to go somewhere, so she's obviously an option as well. And we've got the Iconics as well. Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. So there's an option there. Billie Kay 38 popularity, which is pretty solid. Peyton Royce has the same. So there is an option to bring them in to try and bolster up the division. Which, if we run out of opponents that are decent for Britt Baker, we might have no choice. We might have to make an SOS call to bring in someone like that to try and, save the deal, save the day, But lots to think about, and our women will still continue to be a big challenge for us, but it's a challenge we need to continue to work on. And we'll add another feud, I believe, to try and get the women more involved in the card, and probably try and spend more time on Dark, especially, because we have plenty of time there building the women a little bit more. Not sure what the idea or what the plan is. The problem is, of course, they don't get, they have such bad ratings that we get penalized heavily for putting them on the card. So, at least using the pre-show, I suppose, to build them up is something we really need to do. But that's a thought for next time. We'll leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. Plenty to come. We're going to start really building towards Double or Nothing in the next coming weeks. And, with Park having some really strong matches as champion, we're going to have some good title matches as well. So looking forward to it. Thank you guys for coming along this episode of Total Extreme Wrestling. If you enjoyed it, leave a like on it and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.